Hello there YouTube, this is Christy Lewis. Today I am bringing you a video all about how I learn vocab. I am currently learning Korean, and learning vocab has become something that's like very seamless and integrated into my day, and I really enjoy it. I think it's really fun, so I wanted to share my process with you guys so that you can get there too, because I know vocab can just be such a drag, and this process won't work for everybody. So if you have any thoughts, leave your thoughts down below, please. I want to hear your process for learning vocab. Like I said, everybody's different, but this really works for me. So my main process involves writing practice tests for myself in my Korean learning notebook. I write by hand usually, but I can also write on my iPad in OneNote, and that works very well as well. What's fun with OneNote is that you can make everything exciting by writing in different colors, and they can be sparkly, and it can just make vocab learning really fun. But I like having the open space and accessibility of a notebook because I can bring it out on my deck with me and work out there or whatever, and I can avoid blue light. As well as creating practice tests, I also write practice sentences. I try to form at least 2 sentences in Korean every day. So step 1 is to recognize a new word and remember the definition. These are both definitely different parts of the process. This is very different from being able to remember the Korean if you're looking for the word in your head. Like, you know what you want to say, but you can't remember the Korean word. So those are 2 different steps, and I tackle them differently. The first step I usually tackle, like I said, is recognize the word and remember the definition. So in my notebook, I will make lists of the Korean spelling of the word, and I will write them by hand so that it helps me remember how to spell it later. It actually stores it better in my personal long-term memory if I write it down lots of times, and I will often form sentences with it. Sentences which I then check in the Papago app to make sure that they make sense to a Korean speaker. Because I'm not paying for any tutoring at the moment, I might do that down the line, because I know that it's kind of hard to self-teach everything. Like, there's just gonna be some things that I don't know how to notice and fix. But Papago is a really good first step. I also use a different color ink every day when I'm coming back to this list of words so that it just looks pretty and colorful, and also so that there's a differentiation between my writing one day and the next. If it's all in the same color, sometimes I get confused where I left off. So when I open my notebook the next time, I test myself. I try to remember the definition of the word, and if I can't remember it, I head on over and look at it. I form a new sentence with it, or I just write it a couple more times. So step 2 is, once I've been able to remember the definition of the Korean word without looking over the course of a 24-hour period, I switched to memorizing the word itself and its spelling. I erased the target language vocabulary from the test page using my erasable colored pens so that only the definition remains. And again, this is where differently colored ink is helpful. And I'm erasing the target language word so that only the definition in my native language, English, remains. So that the next day when I open up my notebook to take a look at my vocabulary test, I see the definition there, and I have to try to remember not only what word it is, but how to spell the word. And I usually try to say them out loud as well, because speaking is kind of an underrated practice I've found. And this is why I think Duolingo is so intense on saying the word. It's important to be able to wrap your tongue around those syllables, and that will help you remember it as well. The more you say it out loud, the easier it will be to remember. Step 3, once I ace a test, I write each word and definition on sticky notes in various books that I read, because I am a reader. They mark various things in the book that I want to come back to later, and whenever I go back to them, I'm practicing my Korean vocab as well. And whenever I'm reading, I'm also practicing my Korean vocab while I stick this actual note in. So I'm practicing my Korean vocab when I'm sticking the note in and when I'm taking it out of the book later. It's a really good way to see how well you've stored this word and its definition in your long-term memory, and to keep encountering it in your native atmosphere. Some people say to write notes on things around your house to help you remember. That's also a great tip. I don't personally do that because keeping up with my book notes is plenty of work for me. So really the important thing here is that it helps me store the word into my long-term memory, whereas the vocabulary tests are more about short-term memory, because I'm doing it usually over the course of a couple days and not a very long length of time. Step 4, eventually I move vocab words from sticky tabs to flashcards, and I have stacks of flashcards here from when I learned Spanish, and now as I'm learning Korean, I have a stack of flashcards of Korean words. That means I have mastered the word, and every once in a while I can just go through the stack and make sure that a word is still stored into my long-term memory. It's just a good refresher. And as you're learning these vocab, it will be reinforced for you when you are doing your listening Korean practice or when you're watching shows with subtitles on, etc. You will start to recognize those words, and those are like moments that keep me going and keep me learning. They're so exciting. How do you learn your vocabulary? I would really love to know. Maybe I'll add it to my way of learning. Oh, in addition, I shouldn't forget, I also really love using the Drops app for vocab because they say the word and they also make you remember the spelling of it. And it just repeats it, and it automatically repeats it, and it has vocab lists if you want to write them down, unlike Duolingo, which does not have vocab lists, which is very frustrating for me because I stumble over the Duolingo method because they don't have vocab lists. So Drops is like really excellent for vocab. I highly recommend that. Although it's still important to do your work on the side and write out the words. That's the only way that I will remember my spelling, and it's the best way for me to store the word in my long-term memory. Just the repetition of Drops and the fact that it brings it back up. It's like a digital flashcard maker. It reminds you. It'll tell you when you need to work on a word again, kind of like Duolingo does. Duolingo will just bring it back up in your rotation if it's time that you need to work on a word. Hey guys, Editor Christy here. I had to tell you, since I filmed this video quite a while ago now, I added another vocabulary practice to my routine. Now I make digital flashcards via Anki. The reason I use Anki is because it is free on Samsung and you can include sound bites. I really love recording things on YouTube, screen recording, and then including those screen recordings in my digital flashcards. And that's really good for listening, and that repetition really, really helps. That is it, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this, and good luck. Fighting!